Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Sajdah's Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. This morning, we're going to dedicate our show. We're going to talk about a new you, a new me, and we're going to dedicate our show to the great Les Brown. We're going to give him some flowers while he lives. So sit back, relax. We're going to let the algorithm let everybody know that we are live, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Good morning, everyone, and assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Sajdah Morning Coffee Talk. What y'all sipping on this morning? I got a little regular coffee with some vanilla oat milk, nothing fancy. We're going to talk today, this morning, about a new you, and then we're going to do an after talk on Facebook Live. I was going to do an after talk yesterday on Instagram Live, and something was going on with Instagram and I couldn't get on. And so I went to Facebook and I was like, this is kind of cool. So we're going to do Facebook Live. Forgive my shadow. I got this hat on and the light is right above me. My orb coordinator at Sajdah House would be all over my case because he hates when people have that shadow from a hat because the light is supposed to be coming to me this way. But we ain't got all that set up yet. Brother Lamont said he drinking him some lemon ginger tea. That sounds good. All right. So listen, right before the show, I had about 10 minutes. And so I just went into prayer and a little meditation. And I was being grateful, and I was telling God that I was grateful for each and every one of you who pay attention to the platform. I was grateful just for the opportunity to be able to do this, the idea to be able to do it. This kind of went back to when I started blogging sort of as personal therapy back around 2006, 7, something like that. And then I became an emotional intelligence coach. I got certified, and I started to blend that information from Study Guide 18, emotional intelligence coach, with entrepreneurship and creating the authenticity brand. RJ Funches said he got black coffee this morning. All right, salams. And good God gives us the greetings. All right. And so it just became something that I started doing. I started interviewing entrepreneurs. I was talking to Brother Bedford yesterday, and we were talking about back when I first got started and how we're, just kind of where, and he was just sort of getting started as well. He had been going a little bit before me. He had his program, Notifications of Payment Received. If you're not following Brother Bedford, I suggest you go and follow Brother Bedford. I've been pushing Brother Bedford for years to do more. Brother Bedford is a phenomenal entrepreneurial mindset coach, and he's an awesome economist. Like, he understands the economy in a way that I don't even think he realizes is on another level, right? So we were just talking about kind of where we came from and sort of what's going on with the platform, and congratulating each other for not making, certain compromises. I did start paying for ads. But I was doing it for a company that I had at the time. And we just kind of got into on the hamster wheel and the rat trap of paying for ads. And it just wasn't worth it. But I was telling him that I started to have so many powerful people that I was meeting as a result of this podcast and doing this work and just connecting. And so many of you that have said that it has helped you, that I've just been grateful. Walaikum salam, Sister Aletha. Happy Saturday to you too, girl. So Brother Beffin and I were having that conversation. So I was sitting here right before I got ready to go on, and I was just kind of thinking about, the show. And I said to Allah, Allah, how would you use my vessel today? And I had just kind of come off of that calibration of gratitude, and what came in my head so clear was less brown, less brown, less brown. And I said, wow, we, especially as Black podcasters and people who you might consider us motivational thinkers. I don't consider myself a motivational speaker. Although you may be motivated by some of what I say, I'm not really a cheerleader. I think I'm a little bit more tactical. But Les is somebody who kind of kicked this off for most of us. I would say Les Brown and Dennis Kimbrough. And we oftentimes forget about both of them. Dennis Kimbrough, not so much, because I know he teaches at Morehouse and a lot of people know him. But Les Brown, we forget what an incredible motivational speaker he is, and how his pioneering work in this field, even if we aren't doing exactly what he did, he kicked a lot of doors in for us and for people to begin to see Black people as motivational, but more importantly, for us to be able to see ourselves and realize that we could do it. So I'm going to play a quick 5-minute motivational speech from the great Les Brown. That's what popped in my head this morning, really strong. And I want to give him his flowers while he's here among us and thank him for kicking down that door, along with the great people like Dennis Kimbrough, even Dr. George Fraser in the networking space. But specifically today, this is about Les Brown, because that's what God gave me this morning, said, honor and do this today and walk in the footsteps of Les Brown. So Les Brown, we thank you. We love you. I want to show you something that he always says. Les Brown wants you to know that you have something special and that you have greatness within you. Never let anyone's opinion of you become your reality. So powerful. And he's got some really powerful stuff out here online. I encourage you to go and check it out. I'm going to play this. I'm going to take myself off the screen once it gets started, and just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can see and hear our wonderful Les Brown that I was just inspired to honor this morning. I literally said, God, how would you use my vessel this morning? And it just flashed, Les Brown, Les Brown, Les Brown. So we want to thank this brother, beautiful melanated brother, for kicking down the motivational doors for us. Here we go.
There are losers, and there are people who have not discovered how to win. And all they need is some coaching. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support. All they need is some insight or a different strategy, a plan of action to make some adjustments that will open up the key to a whole new future for them, that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need. So what I want you to do is think about something you want for you, that's real for you, that's important for you, that will give your life some special meaning and power. And I don't even want you to say, I can do that. I don't want you to assume that. See, 5 years ago, when I started out in this area, I would not have been able to make the mental leap that I would be up to where I am right now. I don't want you to begin to just psych yourself out. No. I want you to be able to say something to yourself that will enable you to maintain a level of integrity with yourself, That when you say this, even when you face tremendous setbacks, it will be a benchmark to keep you in the game, to keep you moving forward and experimenting and readjusting your strategy and your plan of action, continuously looking for ways to win. So what is that something? When you got an idea you want to move on, you might not have the money, you might not have the education, you might not have the support or the resources you need. What is that something that can keep us going, that will enable us to act on our dream? What's one of those keys that will begin to help us to discover the secrets to our dream? Here's what I want you to repeat after me, please, with power and conviction. Say, it's possible. It's possible. That's all I want you to do when you look at your dream. Just say to yourself every day, it's possible. Just say that every day to yourself, it's possible. Because what does that do? See, it begins to change your belief system. See, the way in which we operate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a manifestation of what we believe, what's possible for us. Whatever you've done up to this point, all that it really is a duplication, it's a reproduction of what you believe subconsciously that you deserve and what's possible for your life. Most people operate out of their personal history, out of their memory, things they've done, things they've experienced, things they've seen, things that they have observed. What I'm suggesting that you operate out of a larger vision of yourself. I want you to see yourself doing what you want to do, experiencing what you want to experience, having what you want to have, doing what it is that gives your life some meaning and value. Operate out of your imagination, not your memory. Because whenever you look at where you want to go, I'm wanting to warn you, you will have some conversation back here after you go through the data that you've experienced in life saying you can't do it. And so what you want to begin to do is ignore that inner conversation. Well, most people, ladies and gentlemen, when something happens to them, what they do is they begin to believe that that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And they can't see the possibility of it being any different. Example, before April 1954, the common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again, and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. But here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Bannister came along, and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Now, here's what's significant about that. Since that time, up to this day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. What changed? 20,000 people, what changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier, about this goal that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in the race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible, that they could do it. And I'm saying that if you know anybody that had some goal, some dream, something they wanted to do, and they did it, then I'm saying that you know in your heart that if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, that it's possible that you can make your dream become reality.
It's a bad brother right there. And so I just want to thank him for paving the way, because I know what happens, not only just in this industry. You know, there was shadow banning and all of that kind of stuff out before there was social media. These techniques have been around, where the, you know, people who are doing certain things, it's not spread around like it is. We might be doing okay, but there's shadow banning. That's been happening. It's just we just got technology to do it now. And when our brother Les Brown was doing what he was doing, wow, he was making an incredible amount of money for his time. He's not anywhere near financially as someone else that I don't know his personal financials, but I know in terms of the level of attraction power and the number of people that know him, he's nowhere near the level of someone else that I love very much, which is Tony Robbins. And Les Brown, that's a bad man right there. And a lot of us stand on his shoulders in this field in terms of supporting and motivating one another. And you heard him talking about at the end of that clip, how oftentimes we see somebody else do something. And even if we don't consciously say, well, I can do it too, there's something in our subconscious that knows, okay, that barrier has been broken, right? That energy portal has been open and I'm going right in it. And we walk right in it, not even knowing who knocked the door down. This is why it's important for us to know and understand our history. So in knowing, and if you guys go on YouTube and search Les Brown, become familiar with his story, listen to some of his motivation, and learn. And you will begin to see some of the barriers that he broke open for us in this whole podcasting motivational world. And there's others, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's the only one, but literally when I was praying this morning and I asked God a direct question, how would you use my vessel today? He said, Les Brown, Les Brown, Les Brown. It's like the name just flashed. And so I wanted to take a moment to recognize that I'm standing on his shoulders, that you're standing on his shoulders, that we're standing on his shoulders, and to thank him while he is with us, and to send him grace and good energy and lots of love, and just hope that we can learn and grow to be half of what he became in this field. Like I said, shadow banning and all of that is real. We just got tools and stuff today to be able to do it. So interesting stuff. I wanted to talk about making ourselves new. And if you guys would type in the chat, thoughts are spiritual energy. And you see that theme a lot throughout my authenticity coaching, throughout the work that I do, throughout the book, which you guys need to make sure you go and get. We're on chapter 2 coming up this Thursday. There's some jewels in this book if I don't say so myself. Let's see. Mom said something about Les Brown. She said back in the day, many preachers' sermons were a spinoff from Les Brown's speeches. I thought of that and I was going to say that. Thank you for that reminder. Many of the preachers, thank you for thoughts of spiritual energy. Many of the preachers were spinoffs of Les Brown. I would say probably Les Brown and Reverend Ike, because a lot of people didn't like Reverend Ike, but they took his speeches and spliced them apart and put it out there. And then they took a little bit from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and added a little consciousness in there. And a lot of preachers put their whole sermons together based on that. But you're right. A lot of people kind of took advantage of the information that Les Brown was putting out there. And there was no internet at the time. So people didn't know. So if you went to a church in North Carolina, for example, and Les had just been there speaking, and you heard the preacher saying these new words and this new level of motivation, you never realized, right, that they were getting it from Les Brown. And Reverend Ike was super powerful. And next week we need to honor Reverend Ike, because Reverend Ike still be preaching and his stuff is still good. I remember my grandmother had the little ribbon, the red pen, Reverend Ike pen, and let me just show you how colonialized propaganda, okay, impacts us. These epigenetics where we don't believe nothing. I remember how people, when my grandmother would talk to people about Reverend Ike, I remember her being on the phone with one of her friends. And the woman was talking negative about Reverend Ike. And I was like, that's interesting. I remember them doing the same thing to me later about Minister Farrakhan. And I remember taking a page out of my grandmother's book, and she's like, whatever. And she just put on her little red pen, and it was a ribbon, I think. And yeah, she was sending money to support his ministries, and people be like, oh, he just ripping you off or whatever. But you know what? From my grandmother listening to Reverend Ike every day when I got out of school, and me sitting there trying to be like her with my little hymnal, listening to Reverend Ike in the morning. I think it was in the morning when she listened to him, I think it was in the morning. From that, them little seeds that Reverend Ike planted in your girl still are germinating today. So thank you, Reverend Ike. Thank you, Les Brown. Next week, we're going to honor Reverend Ike. We're going to start honoring our people who've been doing this, that folks have spliced apart and created great movements and ministries off of. Literally. So yeah, thank you for that reminder. Thank you, Sister Alita. She hit that super chat button with the $4.99. This is what I've been telling y'all about. Hit that super chat button. Go to Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. Listen, y'all, ratchetness is united. And if Les Brown or Reverend Ike was the king of ratchetness or the originators of ratchetness, y'all might know who they are. But look, these people will get on here and be just as ratchet, be gossiping, be lying, be talking about people, be intentionally being negative, intentionally looking to hurt somebody, intentionally looking to tear somebody down. And when you look at their chats, it be popping with them super chat dollars and them Cash App dollars. And I just thought to myself, where we at, righteous people? Where we at, conscious people? I won't say righteous because, righteousness is subjective, but conscious, right? Those of us that say we don't like that kind of stuff, but we like this kind of stuff, we got to support on that kind of level. So ratchetness been hollering, Sister Alita, but the conscious people, we've been whispering. Man, that's all they care about over there is popping bottles and gossiping and slack talking, and that's all they care about. That's what make all the money today. We over here whispering, but ratchetness is loud, like ow, ow. And they making money and getting there. So I appreciate you, sis. Appreciate each and every one of you that. And I say love offering because if you get anything from this, I'm all about love. I'm not saying love offering like a preacher. I'm saying love offering because I'm all about love, and I'm all about doing what it means, what you're supposed to do. I'm all about action behind that love. And if I say I love Black entrepreneurship, I love motivating you, then I'm going to put action behind that and do what I can to help and support. And so that's why we say love offering. So thank you again, Sister Alita. Thoughts of spiritual energy. This is where we was going with this. A couple of us already put that in the chat, and you will see this as a theme throughout my book. We're on chapter 2. This week on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, we're doing a 9-week series, 1 chapter a week, and we are doing it as a launch, like a launching pad for the next book that's going to be coming out in about 9 or 10 weeks. Okay. And we're going to be launching that in a very, very special way that I'm not going to tell y'all. And I ain't even telling you the title of the book. I got a new podcast coming out. I'm not even going to tell y'all because somebody going to steal it. They're going to use ChatGPT or they're going to take the subject matter. You know how we do. We see somebody else doing something and we don't respect the fact that it's their unique creative property. We just go, oh, I'm going to do that. And it's not modeling, because there's a such thing as modeling, right? Where you can see somebody who's done something and you can say, okay, let me model them. It's not modeling. It's literally just jacking, copying, stealing. That's really what it is. So thoughts are spiritual energy, though. So when we start moving towards thinking about becoming new and becoming a new person, every time I look in the mirror, I see a new me. And that's because Every day, all day, I'm working on becoming a new person, having new thoughts, accessing new information, and going deeper inside of myself and learning and studying myself and figuring out who I am. And the more I see myself, the more I see a new me. So I become reborn and renewed to myself. And and then I use the thoughts that come up from that, or from those experiences and from those gifts that I discover within myself, to then propel myself to the next level and the next level and the next level. So when I woke up this morning at 4 a.m., I'm not the same person that I was at 4 a.m. When I fell asleep last night at 11:30 or so, I'm not the same person that I was before I went to bed. I'm not the same person that I was yesterday. And so every day is an evolution, and it's evolving. I think the basics and the core of who we are, um, may very well stay the same, but we should be studying ourselves. And it's interesting how when you open up the book of you, right? You open it up and you look at yourself, and you can start by thinking about your evolution as a person, like where you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, things you tolerated, things that you maybe you don't tolerate now, things you did that maybe you don't do anymore, or maybe even things you used to do that you should still be doing. I don't know. But just opening up that book of yourself and learning is very powerful. I have a whole shelf of notebooks and journals that I just been keeping over the years, where I just take notes about things that I'm feeling, things that I'm learning. I write. I sit outside and just let nature inspire me to write thoughts. And I love going back to look at my thoughts and what was I thinking 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I found a prayer the other day that I was saying as we were building the hospital, and just looking at, even in terms of, for me, how I pray and how I interact with God, and the words that I use, and my understanding of the Creator and the Supreme Being, and that difference and the similarity, and just understanding that I love watching and looking at myself. And I think it's very important. Oh, look at y'all doing the thing today. Okay, RJ Funches, thank you. I appreciate you as well. Look at them on the beach. I'm jealous. If you know anything about me, I love traveling. I love the beach. I love the ocean. I love the sun. Anywhere around the equator, around the sun, where it's nice and warm, and I can get some of that energy that activates my melanin spirit. I just love it. So thank you so much, and thank you for that beautiful profile picture at the beach. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Look at the conscious community. We coming together, y'all. So going back to just the new you and thoughts being spiritual energy, and making sure that we are thinking new thoughts. I always ask myself a question whenever something happens, both good and bad. I go back and I say, what was I thinking? Not like, oh God, what was I thinking? But what was my thought process? Because that helps me to measure my vibrational level. So if something good happens, or something happens that I had no idea was going to happen, or was a big feat, I go back and I say, what was I thinking? Where were my thoughts? What did I gravitate towards? What did I gravitate away from? What worked and what didn't work? What thoughts created the spiritual energy that, excuse me, materialized in that way? Right? Whether as women, whether we kissed a frog or got in a conversation with a frog and said, whoo, dodge that bullet. That happened to me recently. I was having a conversation with somebody and they start telling me, oh, you know, I really want to get to know you and da 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 da. And I realized, whoa, almost kissed the frog. I'm being silly. But I always ask myself, what was I thinking and what energy was I bathing in based on my thoughts that materialized in that way, whether it's good or bad. And this is it's very important. Very, very, very important that we learn to do that because thoughts are our spiritual energy. And if you guys remember anything, how many of you all give me a thumbs up if you attended the manifestation classes that I did about a year and a half ago now? They're actually posted here on YouTube, and I would encourage you. I think there's might be in 15 weeks or so. Go back week by week and listen to those manifestation classes. They're posted here on my Instagram page. I think there's a playlist, manifestation class. And if it's not there, I'll make sure that it's active, but I'm pretty sure it is. And you will see how we talked about using our thoughts and using our mind as a way to create energy. See, look, let me tell you something. You cannot sit here today and say, I want certain things to happen. You can't sit here and go, hey, I want $20,000. And then be thinking, after you say that, start thinking and doing things differently. It's a science to it. And in the manifestation class, we covered the entire metaphysics, the science around thoughts and manifestation. It is a true science. So a lot of us think, well, it don't matter. I ain't got to follow nothing. This is what I do. Well, if what you're doing is working for you, then imagine how much more powerful you can be if you get new techniques and new information and new ways to access that power. Okay. So don't get caught up and go, well, look, I don't care. It's working for me. Just imagine how much better you could look, how much healthier you could even be, how much wealthier you can be with access to even more information and understanding the science of the universe. So, you know, a lot of us like to listen to things while we're working or while we're doing other things. You know, go back and check out the manifestation series. I think it was based on the book, The Master Key System. And somebody just gave me the Master Key System. There it is. Verb and subject agreement. We talked about that. When did we talk about that? Was it last week? We talked about identifying the subject of a sentence and then adding a verb to it. So when we think of something, when we have a thought in our head, when we have a conversation with ourselves, which is what we're going to talk about on chapter 2 on Thursday, the conversation with ourselves, which is also in our self-improvement study guides. When you have a thought, ask yourself, what is the subject of that thought? Not what is your intention. It's two different things. Because people say, oh, you meant well. Two different things. What is the subject of that thought? What is the subject of that sentence that you just thought? And then what verb or action do you put behind it? What verb or action do you put behind the subject? But see, what happens for a lot of us, we get the subject wrong and we either don't put no action, or we get the subject wrong, or we might get the subject right and then we put the wrong action. So we have to have verb and subject agreement. And the way to think about that is to think about our English language. Go back and study your English language, verb and subject agreement. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Look at Sister Marvelous Marva in the house. Wa alaikum salam, sis. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's important. So that new you is all about that new thought. I thought I seen somebody in here say that, oh, maybe you don't remember, but I'm going to put in the chat here my manifestation series. And what I will do after we get off of here, I'll go in and highlight it and kind of move it to the top of the playlist so that you all can go back and review it, because it's powerful. And we did it based on the Master Key System, which is a book written by Charles Hanau. And in the book, he talks about how to harness energy, how to do it, right? And a lot of us learn these things by process of elimination. So we bang against the wall long enough, and then we finally make a little hole and we go, okay, I learned how to bang my head, what angle to use, right? So some of us learn by process of elimination, but you can avoid learning by process of elimination sometimes by getting access to new information. Brother Lamont remembers it. He said it was a great series. Thank you, dear brother, for reminding us of that. Thank you for that compliment. So to avoid going through that process of elimination, which takes time, which can cause pain, which can cause loss of life, do something different. So we can't say that we want certain things. We can't look at somebody and go, man, they have a great body. How did they get that body? Well, they're working out. Or maybe they're not eating certain things, or maybe they are eating certain things. There's a formulary to everything. And yes, there's some customization that happens based on our experiences. There is some customization. But the more you understand the basics, like if you didn't understand what RJ Funches put up there talking about verb and subject agreement, something they remembered that the minister said, then if you don't understand that in the English language, you're going to have a difficult time doing it. So what you got to do is go back and just Google verb and subject agreement. Or maybe go to YouTube University and put that in and let somebody teach you real quick 5 minutes about verb and subject agreement, which is really interesting, a whole interesting thing, because a lot of times we don't even speak any language correctly, right? That's a whole nother topic, right? What time is it? Okay, it's 8:42. Let me know in the chat if you guys have any questions. Manifestation, the new you, any comments? Brother Lamont, what did you get out of the manifestation series? We can talk about that, or anybody else who was here. I know Sister Aletha was here. I know Sister Marvelous Marva was here. There's a few of us I know that went through the entire manifestation series with the book, right? With the Charles F. Hanna book, with the book. I gave you all a link to download the book. And it's all on there where you can go, you can download the free ebook. The book is in the public domain. You can go grab it and study it and learn it. You got to study how to navigate this life. See, a lot of us we can learn through experiences, but let's go beyond that. Let's go bigger than the experiences that we've had. Let's extend and expand. And it's never too late to grow and develop and make a new you and become a new person. Because trust me, every experience that we go through is going to change us. And like I said to you, I'm always going back and analyzing my thoughts, because what I do want is for each experience. What was that? What I do want is for each experience to help me grow and move to that next level. That's what I want. I want everything I go through to teach me something that I can take and use and move on to the next level. I ain't trying to stay on the same level that I was on yesterday. So as soon as I get the lesson, I'm like, okay, got that. Okay, I see it. And then I make sure that it's something that is useful and beneficial. I'm going on to the next level. Going on to the next level. I always want to encourage us to be graceful and have mercy with one another. We talked yesterday about how life is lifing, and you never know what a person is going through. And when you decide to be hateful or mean or aggressive or just not have empathy, you just never know how you're impacting somebody. See, Shaniqua Muhammad says, Assalamu alaikum. Can you mention the name of the ebook again? Yes, it is called, let's see, I put in here, if you go to my YouTube, the manifestation series, there's going to be a link that I'm going to give you where you can go and download it. And I think my link was manifestationclass.com. Check that out and make sure, let me know if that's it, and I'll put that in the chat. But I think I created a link where you could go and get it. And I think it might be manifestationclass.com. If somebody could double check that for me, I'd appreciate that. And then Sister Shaniqua will put that in the chat. But the name of the book is The Master Key System. But I think I put it in. I think I put it there. If not, it's Master Key System. I'll just put that here because you can go get it anywhere. You don't have to get it from me. The book is called The Master Key System. I started studying this book back in about 2006. And I actually wrote, which I have not released yet, I wrote a companion book specifically for Black people on the Master Key System that I'm going to work on releasing that as well. But I wrote that. I got a few things that I wrote that I'm just like, I'm going to start putting this stuff out. But I'm going to put it out differently, though. We're going to put it out in a way that people can't just go and steal it and say, this was mine. I thought of this first. You put stuff in a book, since folks don't order books. Folks ain't interested in books. Folks don't want a book unless you give it to them. You got to find a way to do things differently. And so that's what we're working on. We got, actually, I have 3 new books coming out, 4 new books coming out. And it's really just stuff that I wrote from back in 2005. And I don't do Chat GPT books. That's just not my thing. No shame on somebody else who does it. But if I put a book out and I'm doing stuff, it's because I really, really put it together for real, for real. Brother Lamont says he remembered that the series helped him focus, especially on the exercises. Yeah. So at the end of each podcast or each class, we had exercises that we went through, mental exercises, exercises on how to strengthen our minds, exercises on how to download and access energy that helped us to overcome fear, because we don't want to be negotiated out of our position that is a result of fear. So a lot of times we're afraid, and so when we're afraid, it creates certain actions, right? So if fear is the subject, then what are the actions? What are the verbs? What are the actions that we take as a result of that fear? Then what happens oftentimes is then we go and we do certain things and we miss our blessings. We get negotiated out of our position because of certain emotions that impair us. Some of us are stubborn. Some of us are jealous people. Some of us are envious people. Some people walk around and we want somebody else's life. If we sit down and we look at most of the major moves that we're making in our life, it's because we're trying to have somebody else's life. So we talked about that. We talked about how to go deeper into our own authenticity and figure out who we are. Very, very powerful stuff. And I will tell you that as a result of studying that authentic nature and that authentic way in which to move through life, you will see spiritual gifts starting to open up. When you go back to, I know for me, when I would go back to my study guides or back to the Holy Quran, after just kind of learning and cleaning up my vibration, I saw things differently. So the same thing that I may have read, in the Holy Quran or in the study guides or in the Supreme Wisdom, now I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it in a different way. It's clearer to me. It's almost like at one point I was looking at some water and the water was murky. And then once I start learning these techniques on how to truly use the science of physics, right, to understand my mind and how my brain works and how things in the universe work, when I went back to that supreme wisdom, it was like I was looking at a clearer body of water. And so I started thinking about, I want to keep clearing it up and clearing it up and clearing it up. So just using those tools to support the basics of a belief system that is there. And I started seeing, I can see, it's interesting because sometimes if you take a look at pictures of yourself, when you go back and look at pictures of yourself, because you know yourself, you can look at the energy of what you were going through when you see yourself in photos. And so just learning how to, when you wake up in the morning, looking at how to analyze the energy of what you see from yourself. You can see if a person is living in pain. It's very clear if you understand how to read energy and look at that. You can see when a person is really struggling, when a person has a problem, when a person is pushing up against something that they can't move or they can't do anything about. See, the energy of jealousy and envy is all over the faces of people who live there. And you'll see the rigidity, the rigidness in their face. Because what's for you is for you, and what's for me is for me. And it ain't nothing that neither one of us can do about it. And God is so powerful. If he brought us on the planet to do a certain thing, if he got to beat us up and smack us and sting us, he gonna make sure we do it. Brother Bedford and I were talking about that. We had a very powerful conversation yesterday, and we're going to be working on some podcasts and things like that together as well. So make sure you go and follow him. We were talking yesterday about how it's like Allah stings you. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Did you just sting me like that? Hold on a second. But he stings you to get you to go in the right direction, or sometimes to make you go a little faster. It's almost like if you have a horse you're riding and then you just hit it a little bit, or you kick it to get it to go. And the horse might be like, I know she didn't just kick me, but it will speed up and move a little further. So these are all tools, and my work is designed to give you tools so that we all can be happier, healthier, wealthier, more peaceful, experiencing more love, more in connection with a power greater than ourselves. And I'm not talking about the colonizer. I'm talking about a power greater than yourself that I call Allah. I don't know what language you use. I know him as Master Fard Muhammad, in the person, Allah in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. So those understanding that power and understanding what it means to be a God, what it means to move through life, advancing in your divinity, and at the same time using the tool of opening businesses and doing for self. Okay? That's important. Using the tools of opening businesses and doing for self. Because if you are not doing for self, well, let me say it this way. Let's give it on an affirmative level. When you do for self, which I cover in the book, and we are on chapter 2 this week, this Thursday. When you do for self, what happens? You're going to go through certain things that are going to force you to grow and develop. And it's interesting, right? Because you can go through certain things, and those certain things that you go through can they can either put you in a position where you do something crazy, Or they can put you in a position where you go, nope, I'm not getting ready to risk my life and do nothing crazy. I'm gonna do my best to make my word bond. I'm gonna work hard to make my word bond, be the person that I know I'm supposed to be. And so then that requires growth. And so as you begin to grow, as you begin to develop, this holistic approach to being an entrepreneur is extremely, extremely valuable. Listen, when it comes to business, when it comes to reparations and repairing, um, it's a holistic approach, because the epigenetics that are inside of us as a result of the trauma that we've been through is impacting every aspect of our life, from the way we think, from the way we eat, from the way our body responds to stimuli, from the habits and behaviors that we have, from the fears and things that make us happy, from our spirituality, you name it. There's a repair that has to happen. Our life has to be repaired across the board. And so it's a holistic approach. So there's enough room out here for everybody. You ain't got to be copying off of nobody, because we all come from different places, different spaces, different background, and everybody ain't for everybody. So it may just be a matter of you finding your tribe and people that you can work with, and a healing space that works for you. Okay, let's see what y'all saying in the chat. Brother Lamont said 4 books. That is great. Cannot wait. Thank you. Yes, sir. Deborah Wright says awesome. Monica Daniels Muhammad says, great Saturday morning. Just before I get downloads, I get a bit of a sting. I feel like it is an attention getter from the God. Sister Monica, I think God gets our attention in different ways, right? Some people get a sting. Some of us get a buzz. I'll get a buzz. Sometimes I'll have a buzz in my head all day, or until I sit down and listen into the buzz. Sometimes I buzz in my ears and my ears are stopped up. Some people have eye jumps, but that's just how it is for me. And generally, my downloads are accompanied by meditation. I think that's why I was attracted to meditation at a very young age, because that's how I would receive my downloads. I would either, as a very little child, I would go in my room or go to a corner or just get quiet and listen. And I learned that I could listen into anything, like I can hear the lights buzzing in this room and I'll listen into that. I can go to water, like, like the lake or the ocean, and hear it. I can listen. I can tune in with wind. So it just depends on how God works with you. And the more you do it, the more you're able to access information that's not in your brain, not data-driven information. And then once you access information that's not there, you then can begin to verbalize or take action based on information that you don't necessarily have. And that's when you start moving into that creative, supernatural realm, natural realm. So I tell any of you, bringing it back to the material world, because I'm a Muslim, we're not spooky. Everything has a mathematical reason or process. If you're trying to solve a problem in your business, being quiet and meditating on that problem is important. I do a lot of visualization when it comes to business. So I visualize the problem being solved. I visualize myself in the business after the problem is solved and spend time doing that. That's how oftentimes new ideas and new approaches, new things that I can come up with, because the answer is within us, right? If God gave us the issue, he wouldn't give us the issue and not give us the solution. The question is, we got to find it, and we have to mine ourselves to find it. What happens to a lot of us, we get a problem and we start flailing around looking for the answer outside of us. But if we take a moment to go inward and figure out how the God talks to us, how the God expresses himself or herself through us, itself through us, because each of us have our own levels of communication, because we're all different pieces of God himself. Let's see. She said, yes, after the sting, immediate to inshallah receive. Yeah. So Sister Monica saying she gets a sting, but people get different things. Some people get a feeling in their hands. Some people get chills. I've had the chills before with things. Some people get hot. Some people get cold. Some people get nervous when they start feeling like an intense nervousness. Instead of responding to it the way we normally would when we get nervous, if we would just stop and sit down and go into prayer, go into meditation, then we can find the answer. And sometimes I'll even say out loud, Allah, download into me the information that I need to understand this nervousness that I'm feeling. Give me access to what I need to access to understand this fear that I'm feeling, or, I'm feeling anxious or anxiety. Help me to understand what I need to see as a result of this anxiety, or what is this anxiety trying to tell me? It just depends, but I make sure I communicate. I use emotional intelligence as my roadmap. So even if I'm in a situation and I start feeling like, I don't know if I can trust this person, then I ask myself and I start talking to Allah about it right then and right there. And when you do it, the more you do it, the quicker it comes to you. If there's a problem in business, especially when I was working in corporate and I was in the consulting world, I would take a lot of projects that nobody wanted because I didn't mind traveling. And oftentimes when I didn't take the travel projects, I would go longer stints of time without a project. So I would go ahead and do the travel projects. And sometimes a problem would come across my desk or in my email that I had no clue how to solve. And I would just sit there and say, okay, Allah, talk to me about the solution to this. Be clear, make it plain. And that's how I got through a lot of projects. And then every time, it never failed. Every time I got the download, I would go and look, and I always learned that when something came in my head, I understood how important it was to make sure that I could go and prove it mathematically. So it wasn't just on some spook God stuff like, I got this information. Now I'm 8 feet tall. Let me walk around like I'm 8 feet tall. No, sometimes you got to learn how to figure out how to prove it. Sometimes I don't speak on it until I can prove it, until I have evidence. And sometimes I speak seeking evidence, like the experience that I talked to you guys about last Saturday. I think it was last Saturday that I had with my great grandmother. I had the spiritual experience that told me that it was her, but I wasn't sure. So in speaking with my mother and describing her, we were able to get a picture and validate that. And so that, helped to strengthen. But just in that moment, I think I was saying to you guys, when I looked at her face, and there are things about my face that literally I have been insecure about for years. Like I got this thin, crooked little nose. And when I looked at her, she had a thin, crooked nose. And I said, you know what? I'm all right with that. And she had this shape of her face. And I have a a face that if I don't get the right angle on a picture, I can get an angle that can make me look really thin, or I can get an angle that can make me look heavier. I can get an angle that can make me look like I'm one ethnicity, or I could get an angle that can make me look like I'm another ethnicity. It's all about the angle, right? And when I was looking at her face, I saw those same angles, and it made me okay with it just in that moment. And I'm still dissecting what she said to me when she said, "I want to be free." And I reached down and took the coaxial cables off of her ankles and hands. I'm still dissecting what that means. But the point being is that when we have these experiences and these dialogues, and I had another one before that I have not yet talked about because it involves somebody that I don't know yet what it means. This one gave me the permission almost to go ahead and talk about it. That's another thing. I'll ask God, like, is this something you want me to share? Can I talk about this? And I'll get an affirmation, yes or no. And I do that sometimes even when people are in my presence. You can do that. If you have a staff member that comes to you and you're not really sure where that staff member or that team member is coming from, you can pose a question in your own spirit. You can say, universe, show me how to best utilize this person. Or Allah, show me if this person is good in this position. Or Master Muhammad, talk to me about whether or not I should trust this person. Whatever your method of communication is, I'm giving different examples because everybody, we got people from different walks of life. You guys know my religious and spiritual foundation that works for me. But I have those conversations even about people, and I try. Here's the key, though. Removing the ego and making sure, and I'm going to talk about that. We're going to do an after show live on Facebook, and I'm going to talk about learning how to dissolve your ego when it comes to these types of spiritual downloads and communication, because that's really, really important. A lot of us think that when we invoke our ego and we try to really bully our will, then we're really become sorcerers. We're really trying to curse somebody and put a spell on somebody. That's different. You know, we get mad at somebody and we say, until you do right by me. But I want to talk about opening up to higher levels of spirituality when we learn to remove our ego. So what I'm going to do is I am going to freshen up my coffee, and I'm going to go, and maybe we'll go outside. Okay. It was wet out there earlier, so I don't want to go out there, but we're going to do an after party on Facebook Live. It's the Sajdah Wendy Muhammad Facebook channel. No, not Facebook channel. Sajdah Wendy Muhammad Facebook. Yeah. I think I have on a green hat. There's some fake Facebook pages out there. So make sure you're not checking out one of those. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. That's what we want to talk about, removing the ego and getting and accessing spirituality. We'll get into that a little bit deeper, because we do all of that as conscious entrepreneurs, as we're doing for self, because we are not about trying to rely on doing anything that makes us other than ourselves. So we got to go into the metaphysical, the supernatural, the intellect, the professional intuition, and all those things. We want to incorporate and corral all those things in order to do what it is that we need to do. Because at the end of the day, none of us want to be a predator. None of us want to be these mean and evil business people that we see out here. We are all about conscious entrepreneurship and knowing how to navigate and defend ourselves in the world of business. So we'll be right back. Thank you all for the super chats. Make sure you give a love offering. Go to Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. Like I keep telling y'all, ratchetness is united, boy. You go to their channels and you see these right here, they be just flowing. And people said, well, I didn't do that. I did a Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. Let's keep it flowing, and let's make sure we support. So I'll see you all in about, give me 10 minutes on Facebook Live. All right. Peace and blessings. Love you all very much. Wishing you all more peace and goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined.